Hi, and welcome to the Flatback 4 podcast with me, Andy McGuire, and of course, Scott Eaglen. We are going to be talking. Well, it's the start of the season again, isn't it, mate? It's
Yeah, officially.
today's
Yeah.
officially. It's a trophy. It can be won. Just before we get going, do you see this trophy as a trophy,
Yeah.
or do you see it as a warm up?
Are we going to get into a heated debate about Community Shield that nobody's ever got into a heated debate about anywhere ever? But
There's some
Yeah.
kids in Argentina that will be discussing the opening game today, talking
Yeah.
about how if the Community Shield. Of course, we're old enough to remember when it was Charity Shield.
Charity Shield, yeah. I think it
And
is,
then
though,
they
mate.
changed
I
it.
think it is. I think it's a major trophy. I mean, to get into it, how many clubs actually get to play in it? You know,
That's true.
you have to win the FA Cup and the Premier League to play in it. So yeah, it is. It doesn't particularly mean a lot, does it? It's just a bit of a curtain raiser for the season, but it's still it still appears on your Wikipedia page when you retire, doesn't it?
Well, that's what it's all about. Let's be fair. No, but I suppose you remember like a few years ago when Millwall were sniffing in the FA Cup and stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine if they'd have won it and then actually got to play in the Community Shield because they
That'd
were
be
the
great
FA
fun.
Cup winners. Now that would have been so. Yes, it's a major trophy, but maybe the Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Man City, they probably don't see it as a major trophy. However, it's a trophy.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
another
of
one to the
course.
collection.
Mate, if I had 40 medals and one of them was for the Charity Shield or Community Shield, I'd still value it
Yeah.
as much as like an FA Cup or a League Cup. Of course I would.
I wanted to ask you about that actually because Kingsley Coman has now won 24 trophies in his career, and he's only 24 years old. And I think we tagged each other on Twitter saying someone had shields, and it's like, well, yeah, but it's a trophy. Did he get to lift it? Did he get a medal?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a trophy.
I mean, look at like Danny Alves. Isn't Danny Alves the most decorated footballer of all time?
Is
He's
it
won like
40 odd?
40 or 41 or something. I
Yeah,
mean, Kingsley
it's
Coman's not
unbelievable,
far
isn't
off
it?
now, is he? But yeah, I mean, you ask him though, mate. You ask Danny Alves and say,
Oh yeah,
because he's won a
try
few.
and take it off him.
Yeah, he's won a few Super Cups, and it's something like the Super Cup for like Europa League and Champions League Super Cup. And
Yeah.
they do it in Spain, don't they? Where the Copa del Rey winners play the La Liga
Yeah.
winners is a bit of a curtain raiser. It's a major trophy, mate, for me. I don't see why not.
That's like saying, a Copa America, well, half the world don't watch it, but Argentina, Brazil, and then the nations that get invited,
Yeah.
believe me, that's a massive tournament. It's their Euros.
It's a bit like that Confederations Cup, innit? You know, where all the regional winners of
Yeah.
it's like Euros, Copa America, and that all play each other.
Yeah.
I'd still love to win that. Of course you would. I mean, you
Anyway,
asked, sorry, mate. You asked David Moyes.
No,
about
go on.
David Moyes won it, didn't he, as Man United manager? Which
Yeah?
I know he's probably not great for Man United, but for him,
I
I think is that the only trophy that he's won. I'm sure he'll treasure that way.
Probably.
It's just
probably.
it's just the attitude of like bigger clubs in it, where they say like, they're just being a bit greedy, aren't they?
I want to touch just on trophies. We obviously saw we didn't do. It's been quite a hectic world for us both, but we are going to get back obviously now with the season kicking off. We're getting back to regular podcasts. However, we had the Champions League and Europa League final. Europa League, Sevilla, they just got the Midas touch, haven't they, with that trophy? It's unbelievable. Since 2006, they've won it now 6 times.
Yeah.
In 14 years. I mean, and they were fantastic, mate, weren't they? They were great.
Yeah, mate, they're a great team. They're a typical like cup team, aren't they? Sevilla. They're great in like one-off games, aren't they? And that knockout phase actually suited them, didn't it? Because they are
to a
typical cup team. I think
to a T, it suited them.
I feel sorry for Christian Eriksen though. He's lost Champions League and Europa League final, hasn't he, in 2 years?
Yeah.
But you're a big fan of Sevilla, aren't you? You like the way they play.
I just like the way that they play. I think the mentality of the club, but what I find weird about Sevilla is that they never really do that well in the Champions League. And I think, when we always say, well, if they win that and they get in the Champions League, it might propel them to another level. But they always seem to deceive in the Champions League. So I don't know what it is. But obviously, their manager was the big controversy before 2018 Russia. He left and that. So for him, maybe, and I think you could see the relief in his face. Gun to my head, I couldn't tell you his name. I completely forgot it. However, redemption for him and probably a way to kickstart is because he's probably had a bad couple of years, really.
Yeah.
Losing his job just before the World Cup, got the Real job, lasted 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then now he's found his feet again at Sevilla. So, I just thought it was a big win for Sevilla.
Just want to make a point about Europa League, mate, and I don't know if you agree on this. I'm sure you do because you agree with everything I say.
Don't be too sure, mate.
Yeah. The Europa League gets disrespected so much by English clubs, particularly. as a sort of trophy that's, it's not as good as the Champions League, but it is a major trophy. It is a European trophy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look at how much it meant to Sarri last year when he won it with Chelsea. The guy were emotional. It's a European trophy. I look at Sevilla. They win it 3 out of 4 years, every 5 years, whatever. It's a major trophy, and I just don't like the level of disrespect that it gets from English clubs, because it used to be a massive trophy, man. I don't know if you remember, like, back in the day when it was on Channel 5, when it was on like Channel 5 and it was UEFA Cup. I remember when Leeds were in it. I remember when Bolton were in it. I remember when they drew 2 all the way at Bayern. I remember when AC Milan were in it. Yeah, Fulham when they won it. Middlesbrough reached the UEFA Cup final.
And who did they lose to?
Who? Fulham.
Sevilla. That was their first.
Yeah,
2006. Then they had a young Gareth Southgate, an old Gareth Southgate in that team when they lost that.
Yeah. I remember when Middlesbrough lost, didn't they, to Atletico Madrid? That was when the early Aguero days. But it's a real sort of breeding ground for players who are sort of working their way up into like Champions League football. And mate, I just think it gets disrespected so much by English clubs particularly.
Yeah, English clubs seem to do it. I think the Italian clubs, if you'd have the way Inter Milan were playing, I mean, I did predict both Inter Milan to win and PSG, so I had a really good prediction. With it. However, for teams like Inter Milan that maybe, when they had that they've had like a maybe steady decline, and then maybe to get back on the map, winning the Europa League can obviously then attract. I mean, they've got some great players at the minute. By the way, Arturo Vidal is about to sign there, and I mean that's just the most Inter Milan signing ever, isn't it?
He was born to play for Inter Milan, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. But it puts them back on the map, and I think maybe even now, even you'll agree, everyone's kind of going, oh, Inter Milan are back. Maybe because of Europa League, maybe the fact that Lukaku scored more goals than Ronaldo did in his season. He scored 34 goals.
Something like that, mate. Yeah, really good return. They play around Lukaku, though, don't they? They sort of suit Lukaku's way of playing, He sort of holds it up, doesn't he, and waits for the sort of wide players to come. Whereas when we were at Man United...
He's had a good season there.
Yeah, whereas when we were at Man United earlier on this last season, well, last season now, isn't it? He just sort of slowed the play down a little bit, didn't he? It didn't really suit how Ollie wants to play with that fast front three and potentially.
But he's leaner though now. He's lost 3-4 kilograms. He's lost. Yeah. He looks better. I think he's suited there, and he seems to be doing well. Love the fact that we've gone from the Community Shield talking about the Europa League final, but I did want to touch on it because it's been such a crazy week, and the fact is now we would usually be having 4 to 6 weeks of nothing and transfers, but all of a sudden we finished the final. We're talking a week about transfers, and then the season's starting again, in like 10. It's brilliant. I mean, if you love football, it's a great time to be alive. I'm going to touch on transfers straight away because obviously it's going to be a weird sort of transition for teams to try and get players in, but we've got to talk about Chelsea. They've made some unbelievable signings. It seems like another couple might be on the way. I'm going to tell you who I think they're missing pieces, but let's talk about the business they've done there. The latest one was obviously Thiago Silva. 35, loads of winners' medals behind him. I think it's a great move.
I think it's a no-brainer, don't you? Pick him up on a free. I know he's 35, but you saw his performance in Champions League final and Champions League in general last year. He looked a step ahead of the rest of the defence. He could probably do a year or two in the Premier League, and if you get a fantastic full year out of him, you get 38 games out of him one season and maybe 30 or 25 the next. I think it's an absolute no-brainer for them. His English is
maybe win a cup, finish Champions League again, have a good run. It's been a successful year.
Absolutely, and what better for young defenders like Tomori, Christensen,
imagine
Zuma, to play alongside a Thiago Silva, Chilwell as well coming in, as well. He's still learning. He's only 23.
What do you reckon that 50 million? I think it's a steal.
I don't know if it's a steal. Really. I don't know if it's a steal. I think
for someone who's 23. For someone who's 23.
I think it's a no-brainer again for Chelsea. I think if you were to tell me halfway through last season that Ben Chilwell would be available at end of season for 50 mil, no-brainer. I've seen a lot of Leicester fans criticising his defensive work. I've never really seen him being exposed. I know he didn't have the greatest latter part of last season.
And he didn't have the greatest start in general. I mean, me and you criticised him, but I mean, to be fair to us, he put us to rights, and I think it was in the Spain game. He was fantastic in the Spain game. Yeah. But he's obviously really worked. I think big credit's got to be given to Brendan Rodgers. I think he's matured Chilwell, and I think under Lampard and the way that obviously he can say, look, Ashley Cole, who are you laughing at?
I nearly fell off my chair.
All right. No, but like obviously, like Lampard played with Ashley Cole, so he and it's Ashley Cole doing something at Chelsea.
I think so. Yeah, I was just about to say that, mate. I'm sure he's doing something in the background at Chelsea. And by the way, what a coach for Chilwell to sort of learn his trade off of. And you've got Ashley Cole coaching, you've got Thiago Silva at centre back, you've got Aspilicueta, who's obviously Mr. Chelsea now, and Reece James coming through can learn a lot as well. We're an absolute no-brainer.
You know what, mate? We talk about players and like Nathan Ake. I mean, we laughed at that last week, but Reece James has sort of gone. No, he hasn't gone under the radar because Chelsea had to breed a lot of the youngsters this year. However, I was really impressed with him.
Yeah.
I was really impressed by him. Seems like he's got his head down, and I'm quite looking forward to seeing his development. Actually, I think he could be a good player.
He's a good defender, isn't he? Maybe not the greatest going forward, but I think he'll develop that in his game. But he's a very
but are we looking too much at that though, Scott? We're talking about defenders. That's it. Why can't we have old school?
He's that sort of Wan-Bissaka type defender, isn't he? Who's fantastic at the back. Maybe not the greatest going forward, but again, it depends how your team plays, doesn't it? You look at Trent at Liverpool, who's perfect for them. But if you're playing with like wingers like a Chelsea or, you probably want your left back and right backs to sort of sit back and defend.
And Chilwell's a very up and down. He gets back. Yeah. I don't understand why Leicester fans have maybe criticised. Maybe it's a bit sweet for them. I don't know, because you imagine Leicester, they got 50 million for a player that they bred through their academy.
Yeah. Mate, if you look at some of the fees that Leicester have received for some of their players after the fees that they actually paid, I mean, it's unbelievable.
What do they do now then? We'll go back to Chelsea, but what do they do for that left back? Do they just keep breeding and maybe trying to get that next youngster who's 23, 24, like Brendan Rodgers' development?
They will become like a better Southampton, won't they, in terms of breeding players? They'll just breed somebody else who's left back. I know they've still got Fuchs there, aren't they, from the title-winning season. He's 32 now.
He's 43 now, so especially ahead of him.
Still got about 5 years left.
I'm
sure.
But it's good to keep players like that at the club, though. I do believe it is really important to keep that.
But just going back on Chelsea, mate. Who's the player that you think that they needed?
Nick Pope.
I'll go and say that, mate. Yeah.
Nick Pope, I think he would be the fitting piece. I think he's a top keeper. He's perfect age now, loads of experience behind him. I think he is this sounds crazy, but he's got that Chelsea look. Like he's got Petr Cech, Courtois type build. He's got
like that tall, skinny, not really, not a massive keeper in terms of bulk, but he's that. He's got that
and just
big reach.
Plenty of experience, and I just think that he would be their not missing piece, but I think that he would, if they got the signings and they get Kai Havertz, who we know you're a fan of, and I'm a big fan as well. He's a terrific player. I think even 90 million, it sounds crazy, but I do think that would be a steal for someone that young who is that good. I think he'll rip up the Premier League, Kai Havertz. I think he's that good.
Is now the right time for Nick Pope to move on? He's 28. He's had 2 years fully in the Premier League. He's obviously worked his way up the lower league. Is 28 the right age now for a goalkeeper to step up?
Yeah, because I think for me, we always talk about 28. It's not the decline for the average footballer. That's the peak years, and then 2 years after that, maybe 30, 31, they start to dip a little bit. That's probably right. However, we know 28 to 37 is the peak ages for goalkeepers. So I think getting a move now, Chelsea get 8 years out of him. They could go on and win 3 titles, a Champions League, an FA Cup. You look back and you go, what a signing. Nick Pope is up there with the clean sheets.
Where does that leave Kepa?
Well, for me, mate, he really lost it for me in that final. Whether you like Sarri or not, I'm surprised. So surprised they kept him, because the level of disrespect, and then actually to back it up with poor performances, week in, week out, can't command his area, really poor shot stopper, letting the most goals. Is he the keeper that's letting the most goals for Chelsea of shots?
No, he's the worst keeper in Premier League history in terms of save percentage.
There you go. So, listen, I'm not saying he can't go and rebuild his career somewhere. He's very young. I think that's what people forget about Kepa. He's quite young, really.
I know.
But he'll go back to
Spain.
Abroad. He'll go abroad. He'll go back to Spain, I think, and it wouldn't shock me if he goes back to an old club or a big-ish club. Go and take him.
It's I think it's an attitude one, that one, mate, because there's a lot of similarities there with how De Gea started at Man United. De Gea was awful in the first season.
Oh yeah, he was flapping everything. But
yeah.
But I don't think people questioned his attitude. Do you think he would have disrespected Alex Ferguson?
No, absolutely no. And he was quite quiet, wasn't he, De Gea, in the early days, and he still is now, mate. You don't hear much from him.
I'm not sponsored by Friends, by the way. I'm not sponsored by Central.
Yeah. You didn't really hear much from him, did you, back then? And he just sort of got his head down and carried on working. Yeah. Whereas I don't feel like Kepa's. I haven't seen enough of him to make me think, 2 or 3 years he'll be a good keeper. He's still very young.
Yeah. Why is he 24?
I mean, something like that. He's still incredibly young for a goalkeeper. He will probably next year end up at somebody like a Villarreal or a Real Betis or a Getafe for a season. And
a fantastic pronunciation there, Scott.
Yeah, thank you very much.
If there's any Spanish viewers watching, we don't need to put subtitles. He actually said Getafe.
Yeah. If there's anybody listening.
Graham Hunter at Sky. Hey, listen, mate, they're cutting jobs like hell at Sky Sports.
I know Graham Hunter. I can take it. I'm here. I'm here.
Graham Hunter.
I'm available.
Scott Eaglen is going for your job.
I'm cheap. I'm fresh. I'm new. I'm hot. But
I don't know about that last one.
Well, yeah, maybe not.
But I mean, he could go and probably rebuild his career. I think it needs to be out of England. I always feel like he's one of them keepers that would probably never come back to the Premier League either. I don't know.
He'd be one of those. I don't think it would happen. He'd be one of those Chelsea loanees who probably has 3 or 4 years of loans at, Getafe, SC20.
Sorry, I didn't understand that. What?
Sorry, Getafe, SC20, and Lille in France, and then come back and have a 5 million move to.
Or he'll do the move to PSG.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Something like that. Chelsea. We could talk about transfers all day with them because they're making some good signings. Obviously, they lost Willian to Arsenal. Arsenal in the market. They've got a centre back. I think Martinelli's just signed a 5-year deal. I think we're liking what Arteta's doing there. They're probably still a couple of players away. What do you think they'll do this year? Just in a quick little explanation about Arsenal.
Same
because we think Thiago Silva would have been 35. Get him in there.
I honestly think it will just be the same again from Arsenal. They may improve slightly defensively, but again, they haven't signed that experience that we bang on about every single year. They missed Cahill last year, missed Thiago Silva this year.
Johnny Evans, we mentioned. Johnny Evans, we mentioned
4 or 5 years ago. They miss out on the
Nathan Ake.
Oh yeah. They just miss out on these players. These they just miss out on these experienced players, and I don't see. I mean, they've still got Ozil as well, and they've got.
What is going on there?
Arsenal have got.
When are Besiktas going to do the right thing? Just come in.
Please
take him away.
Please take him away.
If I don't see him getting off a plane with Reece getting put around him.
With thousands of people, saying, finally you've come home.
Alongside Marvin Sordell, who's been signed as well. So
I just think Arsenal they've got about 4 or 5 players who are absolutely dead wood, and I'm talking about players like an Ozil, players like a Xhaka.
Maitland-Niles. What about that? 20 million to Wolves?
Yeah, to Wolves.
15, 20 million. I'm completely back. I think it's a great signing for Wolves.
For Wolves, to replace Doherty. I mean, but
15, 20 million?
For an England youth international who's...
That is an Arsenal going. It's a Gnabry incident, really. I'm not saying that Maitland-Niles is going to go on and have that sort of career, but he could do.
But
how on earth can they let someone go for 15, 20 million?
Hey, mate, it's a great move for Maitland-Niles, by the way. For him,
unbelievable.
He'll be guaranteed first-team football in a Wolves team who will have a fantastic manager, a fantastic team in general.
Play good football, so it'd be like for like, really.
Yeah. It's a great move for him, but for Arsenal, I mean,
strange.
How often do you get an England youth international for 15 million who looks a pretty good prospect? But yeah, I mean, in terms of
I'd have taken him at Leeds, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Maitland-Niles. I think he's a terrific player.
They lost the kid who Leeds have just signed as well.
Yeah, I know. Can't tell his name, but absolutely. I mean, it's a sports podcast. We can't bring anyone's name, but we know that he's gone. I saw that. Well, actually, to be fair though, mate, I'll tell you what though, I was watching AFTV and even they were shocked by that move. So they're the fans inside. They're seeing players that obviously we don't see, and they're like, Maitland-Niles. I know Arsenal fan TV are a massive. They love Maitland-Niles because he plays right back. He can play in the middle. He can play up in a right-sided midfield. Like
I think
Maitland Niles is a very, very versatile player.
I think he started his career at like centre mid, didn't he, as well? But he's
Yeah.
again.
He's obviously good on the ball.
I do hope again that an English clubs and English national teams do tend to do this. Players become a victim of their own versatility, and I'm talking players like James Milner, Wayne Rooney. These players who are fantastic in every position. Gerrard.
They've gone on to do well. I mean, you can't say they've not gone to do well. But you are right. I mean, Phil Jones was labelled with that as well.
Yeah.
And when no one knew whether Phil Jones were a centre mid or a left back, right back, centre back.
Yeah, the thing is with Phil Jones, you never knew.
Phil Neville.
Phil Jones, you never knew if he were a centre back, a right back, or a bricklayer. You just. You just.
Hey, he was Andy McGuire's lawyer the other day.
But you just. The thing is with England teams, and English players in general, the ones who are really versatile, they end up playing Carlton Palmer. I go back to Carlton Palmer as well. That's back. Yeah. But these players who probably can't nail down a centre mid or a right back, or they can't perfect that position that they are absolutely fantastic at. And think of Wayne Rooney in that number 10 position or up front. They end up playing everywhere, and although they could become great players, they don't become world class players because they're playing in every single position.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean?
Like De Bruyne, we know what his position is. You're not going to play De Bruyne right back, are you? Or
you didn't see
left centre midfield.
Yeah, you didn't see Belgium playing him as left winger because they were short at left wing. But even though he was the best.
I mean, when Glenn Whelan was in his absolute prime, you stuck Glenn Whelan in his position, didn't you? Yeah. By the way, no offence to Glenn Whelan, it's all banter, but he's a big fan of the show. But,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. It's a funny old situation that with Arsenal. But like we said, Matt Doherty has gone to Spurs. I think it's quite a good signing. 12 million rising to 16.
Yeah, for a 28-year-old.
It's a nice bit of business.
28-year-old who's had 2 great years in the Premier League.
Very Mourinho.
Very Mourinho signing. A no-brainer. And a no-brainer for Wolves if they're selling somebody.
Although, can you imagine him turning up to Spurs, Jose Mourinho going, "Who's he? Who's he? Matt Doherty, mate. You just signed him."
Ask him 18 months ago who he was. No.
Not a clue.
Yeah.
Too busy doing Paddy Power cutting it. He was doing his Paddy Power advert. No, I do think it's a good player. Like you said, he's had 2 really, really solid years. I think it's actually a good, solid signing that for Spurs. Yeah. Whether it's something that's going to take him onto a next level, but maybe not. But you're wanting like what we said. We miss that old school centre back, right back, type of play. So I actually think he will improve Spurs.
Yeah.
But I think people will be shouting if they're watching, and the fact that there's been a transfer rumour this week. I don't know if you've heard. There's a transfer rumour. I think his name is Lionel Messi or something.
No,
listen.
You're getting mixed up with Lionel Richie.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it's look. Me and you have both said this is to get the president out. He's nailed on to sign a 2-year extension at Barcelona. He isn't going anywhere.
Andrew McGuire, let's stand here or sit here on record and say, Lionel Messi is going absolutely nowhere.
Nowhere.
Please.
And you know what, mate? I was listening to TalkSport this morning, and they had a guy from a betting company on. All good bet shops are available. But he came on and he said, "I've got to be honest, guys." He said, "It's favourite for Man City," but he went, "I don't see him going anywhere." They know he's not going anywhere.
Of course he isn't.
They know he's not going anywhere.
Mate, Messi does this every single year. As did Ronaldo when he was at Real Madrid. And he did it. They do it every single year, don't they? They do it so that Messi is basically begging to Barcelona now. Look, our team is absolutely awful. We've got massive issues.
We don't like the president. We don't like the president.
Not a great fan of the manager who's coming in. Buy some players. Buy some big players.
Yeah.
And
let some big players go that maybe old, like PK, Suarez. Yeah. Not that they're not great players, but it's time to move on.
Yeah, Messi is basically saying you either buy some big players or you double my wages. Double. And you either double my wages or buy some big players. And that's no joke. That is actually what he's saying, isn't he? He's not going to move.
Yeah, of course he is.
If Messi wanted to move, he would have moved 3 or 4 years ago when Barcelona were on a bit of a downward spiral.
Yeah.
When they were just...
When Zidane were winning everything, that little period.
When Real Madrid won 3 titles in a row. 3 titles. 3 Champions Leagues in a row. But he would have moved then. He wouldn't wait until he's 33, when he's probably just past his prime,
I mean, you'd still take him at any team. I mean, we would. And we're not saying, you were not saying we wouldn't love to see Lionel Messi in the Premier League. Imagine Leeds' first season back in the Premier League and we get to see, and I think it was Peter Crouch said, it would be a travesty if we don't have fans to see Messi. I agree. And we're not saying that we're not fans. I'm a big Lionel Messi fan. I think Ronaldo's better as a general footballer, as in the fact that he's gone and won it in other places. But my God, I'm a massive Messi fan. I'd love to see him here. But we all know what this is about. No one is bigger. They always say no one person is bigger than a club. However, Messi at Barcelona is bigger than that. He is as a brand, because they know.
He's similar to that statue that Sir Alex had at Man United, isn't he?
100%, I agree.
If Messi tells Barcelona to jump, they will jump.
They say how I, yeah.
They will
20
jump.
years there, mate.
Yeah.
20 years there. He was their prodigy. They loved him. He was, the Ronaldinho first pass, Messi goal. It was the changing of the guard. It was just, we all know.
Listen, he won't go, but if he does, and he won't, if he does, and he won't, but if he does, first and foremost...
If he don't, but he won't.
But he won't.
Could do that for 20 minutes.
First and foremost, I'm a football fan. More than I'm a Leeds fan, more than I'm a England fan. I just want to see him in the Premier League. I don't care who he plays for. I don't care if it's Man United, whether it's Burnley, whether it's Man City, or...
He'd love Burnley as well.
I mean,
Burnley, Barcelona. It starts with a B. That's his first English lesson.
There's a lot of comparisons there between the two clubs. Same sort of style manager. But, if Messi was to come to the Premier League, I wouldn't care who he played for, just to see Messi.
No, you just want to see him, don't you? Yeah.
For 1-2 years. I mean, you'd see stadiums full all over the country, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. And it would be a phenomenal pull.
Mate, it wouldn't shock me, and I think me and you agree that the Premier League and the FA and everything else within football, FIFA, UEFA, is quite corrupt. It wouldn't surprise me if the Premier League or Man City sponsors bang some money into Man City and say, if you want him, we'll back you on it.
Get him.
Because ultimately, Man City sponsors and the Premier League in general are going to recoup some money out of this.
That's my only thing that thinks that this might... Wait, listen, I think 99.9% is staying. But obviously, there's always that little small percentage that there's a chance it could go, right? We all thought, even when Ronaldo made that move to Juventus, we were saying, he's going to sign a one-year deal. And he did go.
But Ronaldo's the type of player to move.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that, okay. But, right, I am a little bit... there's just a tiny little bit of me unsure, because I don't think Barcelona are in financial crisis. I think the general club is in crisis. So even the players, look, they lost the league by a little bit, and they got to where they were. They're not exactly like a club that's languishing in 10th and going through a massive rebuild. However, the club for Barcelona is in a little bit of a crisis, right? If they could move on Messi and they could rehash the team with Ronald Koeman, but that guy has said that who's taking over the presidency next year, Xavi is my manager. Ronald Koeman could win that's what he said. He can win the treble and he's not going to be in a job next year. So Messi's probably looking at that and going, that's ridiculous. If we bring Ronald Koeman in and he gets us playing well and buys some players, I don't think Messi's having a go at Koeman. He's having a go at the club, I think.
Yeah, I don't think
because he's obviously not happy at the club.
Yeah, I don't think.
As in, he's not happy with what's going on behind the scenes.
He's just, I don't think he's happy with some of the signings that have been made over the last 2-3 years.
Arthur, Vidal, what was his? Ado Turan kicked about eight games. I think he played in like 4 years. Ridiculous.
Mate, you look at some of the players they've bought in over the last sort of 18 months to 2 years. You look at Dembele, who's been injury prone. You look at Coutinho, who has been an epic fail, hasn't he? But he's been fantastic at Bayern Munchen.
And now they pay Liverpool $5 million now for winning the
but
for Bayern Munich.
There's just been some players who have gone at Griezmann. Griezmann.
Yeah, he's really flattered.
Really flattered to deceive. And although I do think it's quite difficult to come into a football team, and listen, I've played 5-a-side, 11-a-side teams a lot before, where you go into a team and there is one person or one player who is far better than anybody else, and he's pretty much like the teacher's pet of the team. And
thanks, mate. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. Listen, it was really difficult when we first met.
We have played on the side.
Yeah. It's just.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
The difficulty is to come into a club where one person is so far ahead of everybody else to try and make your mark or to try and stamp your territory in a team like that, it's incredibly difficult.
We saw the bit, didn't we? With Neymar, look when Neymar thought we were going to PSG with the man, and then all of a sudden, and a 17-year-old Kylian Mbappe came on the scene, and he went, "Jeez," like we saw it.
I honestly don't think it'd be the worst thing for Barcelona if they lost Messi. I honestly don't, because
one day, mate, they're going to have to rebuild without him, whether that's in 2 years.
Because one day, or one day soon, Barca will have to go into some sort of transition period where they're going to be without Messi. And what better opportunity than now? They've got 2, 3.
Because they're going to lose him for free.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's the thing.
They've got 3 or 4 players who they bought for 100 million plus. Dembele, Coutinho, Griezmann, players like that.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, look at that for a front 3. You just think about that without Messi. Think about that as a front 3.
Yeah.
Messi's gone now. Here's your chance to excel. Bring in 1 or 2 players with the money that they're bringing off Messi with the loss of wages. Yeah. I mean, you've got a Champions League potentially winning team there.
True. No, it's true. You are right.
But yeah,
I think. But we agree though that it would be Man City because of Pep. Because I mean, you've got to remember, Messi don't speak a word of English.
I know.
So he would have to go to City, which I suppose would be good for City because they will probably know then that he would probably sign 3-year deal.
Yeah.
Take him to 36. So Messi, in fact, me and Messi, I think we're born the exact same day. So he's 33. So you get a season out of him. He'll be 34. Yeah, you probably do 3 years with an option of a 4th if it works out amazing. And it's a win-win. That would probably maybe guarantee Guardiola staying for that little time, that time as well.
And that would bring players in.
Imagine someone like Nathan Ake. Nathan Ake was relegated last year, and now all of a sudden he'll be playing with Messi.
But
I got to laugh actually, just talking about Leeds really quick. Somebody just rang into TalkSport and went, I don't really think Messi had fit into the way somebody else was about to say. And they actually went, you realise that Messi contributed to 44 goals out of 53 games last year, and you don't think that? I mean, it baffles me. Yeah.
Just sorry, mate. We've only got 5 or 6 minutes left. I just wanted to touch on one thing before we finish. England squad.
Oh yeah. I mean, big shot with Jack Grealish not being in there. I personally think he should be in there because it's a kind of game that we can throw them type of players in. I think maybe Southgate's making a statement. I think. Yeah. Possibly. That his attitude, maybe as a footballer, don't that you can doubt him.
Is it a reflection on his on the events over lockdown where he went out partying and
yes, it's not his football, mate. He might be a little diver here and there and stuff like that. However, he still created. He was up there with and I'm sorry, we don't have that in an abundance, right?
Yeah.
So I think that Jack Grealish should be in the squad, but I think maybe Southgate's just doing it. They know I'm your manager. And I don't care if you're that good. If you don't have the right attitude, you're not in my squad.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where we were laughing about Ward-Prowse. I know you were like, but hey, Ward-Prowse gets said down. He's played in a very good Southampton team this year.
Yeah, he's very consistent, and he's consistent.
Maybe attitude.
We don't have many set-piece specialists. I know Trent is very good, but other than that, we don't really have many.
You're right.
And he's a great set-piece. And listen, Ward-Prowse has played in the Premier League for 5, 6, 7 years now, consistently.
When's he ever been in the press? Press?
Yeah, he's always, and he's got that attitude probably that Southgate wants. He's quite quiet, gets his head down. He's got a good delivery. Maybe not the greatest player, but look, he's coming to his prime now. And what is he, 25, 26? Why not?
And as well, mate, we've also seen that sometimes plays for the clubs. Like Ross Barkley always plays well for England. Andros Townsend used to play well when he came. So maybe he's looking at that as well.
Yeah. I agree. Tyrone Mings.
I think he's one of the most useless defenders the Premier League's ever seen. I honestly think he's terrible. I absolutely can't believe he's got anywhere near it. Can't believe it. I'm absolutely shocked. And that's all I have to say on it.
I think, I'm sure we touched on this in the last pod, mate, but we talk about players who have had a meteoric rise and then reached the very, very, right to the very top. The very, very top. So Mings was in the lower leagues, he was in the Unibond League.
And respect for that, but he's not England class.
And then he went right up to playing for England against Kosovo. Since then, he's been absolutely woeful.
I'm just not a fan.
His positional sense is
can't read the game.
He's awful. Can't read the game. Granted, I'm basing this on one season, so we'll see how this next season.
I know, but still, though,
you're supposed to be there on merit, aren't you? And his performance.
And he's got John Terry. He's had John Terry there as well. And I'm just not a fan, mate. I'm just not a fan at all.
Yeah, and last couple
of
players.
And of course, sorry, go on.
Last couple of players, obviously, McGuire's been dropped. Do we agree that he should be dropped?
Yeah. Well, Yeah, maybe.
It's
not a big game. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's had a heavy week. By the way, that was ridiculous, that whole thing. I mean, I don't even want to touch on it because I think the Greeks have been horrendous over the situation. I actually think Harry McGuire has handled it very, very well. This one, a lad's holiday, there with his wife and his family and his sister, and I think it's been disgraceful the way he's been treated. That truth will come out, whether he has to drag it over 2 years. I thought his interview we did the other day were fantastic. Fair play to him. But yeah, probably right. Get him out of the squad, let it die down, get back for the Premier League, and he'll be fine. I'm a big fan of Maguire. I think he's a good, honest lad.
And lastly, Calvin Phillips.
It's tough, man, because I'm so proud of him, the fact that he's in there. Obviously, Leeds fan, Leeds boy. Unbelievable opportunity. Is it a bit premature? I'd still rather have seen him kick 3 balls in 3 games in Premier League and have 3 great games and then get called up. You warrant it then for me. I'm just still a little bit like, but I look at the way the season's gone and the fact that he is now a Premier League player. I'm at least happy he's in there because now he's a Premier League player. There's a little bit there saying, okay, he's in the Premier League now. He's going to be playing against him kind of level week in, week out. Okay, bang him in, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting. I want him to do well.
Yeah, you want him to do well because he's a Leeds lad and he's come up the leagues, hasn't he? He's 25.
It's great to see a Leeds. It's great to see a Leeds player in there.
He's 25 next, so he's now in the prime. He's not a young kid anymore. He's turning 25 next.
We're going to do a season. We're going to do a podcast on Leeds and what's going to happen in the transfer window. So for any like Leeds fans, we are going to do a specific show to Leeds. We wanted to do a general one, but for Leeds, it's a fantastic signing, and it's going to be great to see him. Against Liverpool. It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we're going to wrap it up there. We'll be back. We're going to do a Leeds special, Premier League, the comeback, 16-year exile against Liverpool. Let us know what you think. Follow us on social media. But for now, we'll see you next time.
See y'all.